Information shared on the following program is for general information purposes only. It does not constitute legal, tax, investment, or other advice, nor is it intended to recommend any particular investments, products, or financial instruments. Always seek advice from your financial advisor, attorney, or accountant with regard to investment, legal, or tax questions.
And now for the next 30 minutes, as the world turns. Brought to you today by Ivory Soap, 99 and... And now for the next 30 minutes, Worry-Free Retirement. Brought to you today by Tony Walker Financial.
Well, as the old saying goes, out with the old, in with the new.
Welcome to the only show in the country dedicated to helping savers worry less about money, the Worry-Free Retirement, with your host, nationally recognized retirement specialist and six-time author and fiduciary, Tony Walker.
As a kid growing up in the 60s, one of my most vivid daytime memories was Mom sitting down to religiously watch one of the longest-running soap operas of all time, As the World Turns. So, as I used to say as a kid, it's actually called The Wild Turns. I laugh about that, but my mom says that's actually what I called it. But anyway, As the World Turns first aired on CBS in 1956 and concluding its final show in 2010. Actually being on for more than 54 straight seasons. And while our locally produced TV show, The Worry-Free Retirement, will more than likely never overtake As the World Turns as one of the longest TV shows ever, today, as we record this radio show and about to record our television show today, we do mark the end of The World Turns and the continued success of this show, The Worry-Free Retirement, which today, our television show, we will be recording our 500th consecutive episode. Becoming arguably one of the longest-running financial TV shows ever produced. That's right, folks. For more than 10 years, each week, myself and producer, America's favorite financial sidekick, Aaron Orander, have faithfully shared with you the trials, the tribulations, and the joys of savers as we teach them how to be more worry-free in retirement by broadcasting our TV show and, of course, these radio shows to many stations throughout the great state of Kentucky and, of course, that message spreading into southern Indiana. And while all good things must come to an end, great TV shows like this one hopefully can be counted on to spring into action to replace those that end. But there's a problem with all good things coming to an end when it regards your money, and that's not having a plan in place to deal with those things that will come to an end, which in life we can say sometimes can have devastating effects to your wallet. But never fear, because today we're going to cover 4 different things that will come to an end and how we at Tony Walker Financial can put a game plan in place to give you some peace of mind and be worry-free in retirement. But before we get into today's program, there he is sitting over there faithfully producing this radio show, America's favorite financial sidekick, Mr. Aaron Orander. So, Aaron, I got to ask you, 500th episode. Man, first of all, time has flown, hadn't it? How long, when did you actually technically start here at Worry-Free Productions? Do you remember the date?
Yeah, so my first, it sort of kind of was weird because, so, of course, a lot of people know, good morning, by the way, everybody. A lot of people know that you and I met through a local television station here that you had originally your show on. And so when I started working for you, it was funny. I remember like my last night, whatever you want to call it, there at the television station. And I kind of walked around and I was just kind of feeling the nostalgia. And then all of a sudden it hit me and I was like, wait a minute, I'm coming back in here on Monday to do the show with Tony. This is okay. I'll see y'all on Monday. You know, it was really funny. So I started working for you back in June of 2013.
Okay.
So,
good. All right. So it's been over 10 years then.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's the point, folks. The radio show, now which is this radio show? How many radio shows have we done together?
So this radio show that you and I are recording, this is the 364th radio show.
Wow. And again, we are recording this show on January, I believe, what is today? 10th, 11th? 9th. January 9th, 2024. So again, Aaron, thanks again for all your hard work. And folks, this is a huge deal. In fact, I think Aaron's got a pop quiz for me a little later. We're going to see how many episodes of the Worry-Free Retirement compare to some pretty famous TV shows out there. But okay, back to our theme though. The theme is all good things must come to an end, whether it's a soap opera that went on for 54 plus years, or of course one day this show, obviously at some point, will end. But right now, we have to take care of business. So let's think about things that can end. We're going to get into something called the 3 halves of life later. That's really helps people think about retirement and putting first things first. But our very youth can end. And when I mean youth, I'm talking about adult youth. So I look at Aaron sitting over there. He's in his early 40s. Aaron is what we would call in the first half of life. The phase of life he's in will one day end. Don't worry, Aaron. The baby's crying, trying to figure out where to, get the next dollar to cover this, school. I mean, all that stuff. That phase will end. And then at some point, you're going to be in what we call halftime. So I don't have kids at home anymore. I don't have to worry about paying for weddings and all that stuff, but I'm in a different phase of life. I'm in my 60s now. And now I'm thinking about, okay, how can I enjoy money? How can I take off a little bit more from work? Now that I've got the business grown and I've got great people in place, I feel so much more comfortable knowing that if something were to happen to me, Aaron, we talk about this, I'm 63, one of my good friends and very close friends and pastors, he was 63, he unexpectedly died this year. I mean, it can happen. So also you get to that thinking about dying, thinking about, hey, I want to enjoy this money before it's too late. And then you get into what we'll talk about this more again in a second, the second half of life. And then a lot of things have ended. As someone recently quipped to me, a couple I was meeting with in their 70s, he said, Sonny, I'm going to a lot more funerals than I am weddings. Which means, folks, as we move through these phases of life, we realize a lot of things will end. But since this is a retirement planning show, and since we're focused on money here and how we can keep more money in your pocket, what we're going to do when we return, we're going to talk about the 4 things that will come to an end. But listen very closely here. How can you plan for the inevitable of that happening and take advantage of some things you can do right now to be worry-free about them? I'm Tony Walker. You are listening to the Worry-Free Retirement along with America's favorite financial sidekick, Mr. Aaron Orander, and we will be right back.
Have you recently retired, been laid off, or offered a pension buyout? Has the company you work for moved, been acquired, or closed its doors forever? And finally, do you have a 401k with a previous employer you'd like to move to safer territory? Then take advantage of this opportunity to move your 401k or lump sum pension to Tony Walker Financial. Let's meet in person to discuss your retirement options. Log on now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com to schedule your free, no obligation appointment. Let us help you today.
Welcome back, folks, to arguably the longest running, I would say, television and radio show that deals with finances, The Worry-Free Retirement. And I am your co-host, America's favorite financial sidekick, Mr. Aaron Orander. And Tony, first of all, I just want to say congratulations on 500 television episodes. That's quite a feat, man.
Oh, I can't believe it, actually. I mean, if you would have told me when we first hooked up 10 and a half, 11 years ago, Aaron, that we would still be doing this show. And I think the key is we've pretty much cranked out a new show every week. And also we're thankful for the audience. We have a lot of people that watch the TV show and listen to the radio show. And again, I want to thank the viewers and listeners very much. I know everybody's always got choices, and we get a lot of feedback, and we're always open to any suggestions you have about the show, topics to cover. So again, thanks to the audience as well.
Speaking of which, speaking of audience, I want to say hello and thank you to Davin up in Corydon, Indiana. Thank you for listening, Davin. Long story made short, Davin actually sold me my truck. I just bought a truck about a month and a half ago.
Yeah.
And, Davin and I were talking as I was test driving it, and he was like, so what do you do? And then, I get the same look every time. I was like, well, I'm a media director for a financial firm. Well, people look at me like, what? What is that? So I explained to him what I do, and he was like, well, I have to start listening. So Davin, if you're listening, good morning and thank you. All right, Tony, back to the number of episodes that we've done, man. I've got, like you said, I've got a pop quiz here. So let me go ahead and get this started, okay? All right. So we picked 3 television shows, and I want you to see how many episodes. I want you to take a guess how many episodes ran for each series.
Oh, okay, I got you.
All right. First one up, one of my personal favorites, folks, is MASH.
Wait a minute, Derek, can you play the theme song real quick? I love that theme song. Let it roll, Derek.
Incoming, folks. We've got incoming. I remember hearing that all the time. I love that. Anyway, all right. Take a wild guess. How many episodes do you think MASH had in the entire series?
Oh, my gosh. It seemed like that show was on forever. I'd say 350.
Ooh. No, you're a little over.
Okay.
The correct answer is 251.
Okay.
All right.
Attention, all personnel. Incoming choppers with wounded.
Okay, let's keep going. All right, next up is Bonanza.
Oh,
And
gosh.
we'll
All
let
right,
him-
theme song real quick, Derek.
Yep. All right, Tony, what do you got? What do you think?
My gosh, that thing was on forever. I used to love Hop Sing, to be honest. He was my favorite. 620.
No, you're over again. You're over again. The number of episodes Bonanza had was 431.
Wait a minute. And we've got 500. You mean I beat Bonanza?
So far, you have beat MASH and Bonanza,
Oh,
so
my
you're
gosh.
rocking and rolling,
All
partner.
right, keep going.
All right.
I like this. It's cool.
Last one up. I will admit I have probably never seen an entire episode of this show, folks. Please don't throw stuff at me if you see me. The Rifleman.
The Rifleman.
Wait a minute. Stop. You're telling me you've never watched Chuck Connors and the Rifleman?
Folks, I'll be honest, the most of the Rifleman I've seen is when we use it in a show and I'm editing the show. That's about the most of the Rifleman I've ever seen.
Now, I will say I kept up with this show. I don't think they had a lot of consecutive years. I will say 350.
Overshot it again.
Oh, my gosh.
They only had 168 episodes.
What? That's weird because I watch it on that Me TV all the time. There's always a new one. Well, anyway, okay. But thanks, Aaron. Thanks again for all you do, partner. And yeah, that just goes to show you, folks, 500 episodes of the Worry-Free Retirement, the television show. And then for folks who don't really watch the TV show but want to see it, how can people watch past episodes, Aaron?
Yeah, folks, if you want to watch episodes of the Worry-Free Retirement, past episodes, no problem. All you got to do is go to youtube.com. That's youtube.com. And right there in the search bar, just type Tony Walker Financial. Click search, and you'll see Tony's smiling face. You will find past episodes of the Worry-Free Retirement there.
All right, thank you, Aaron. Now let's get back to our show topic. Of all the things that must come to an end, I've picked 4 that fall into the retirement planning world that you have to understand. But first, let me go over this again. You have to understand, first of all, folks, life is like a basketball game. There are 3 halves to our lives, all right? The first half, halftime, and second half. And what many people fail to understand, especially people now, there's so many advisors out there trying to offer retirement planning services. Folks, I guess I'll put it this way, Aaron. It was interesting. I had a couple in yesterday, prospective client. I had right at 20 appointments yesterday. You saw my schedule. It was pretty tough schedule. But that's
I didn't
fine.
see you a lot yesterday.
No, I didn't leave here till 8 o'clock last night. It was a long schedule, but it was good. I love it, folks. Don't get me wrong. I'm still loving this business. It's so much fun. But I had a couple genuinely serious about working with us. And this happens a lot, Aaron. They come in for a second opinion. I'm comfortable with them checking around. That's their prerogative. So obviously they've been talking to a lot of advisors, and they had this kind of glazed look over their face, and I see this. What I'll tell people is that's fine. The more people you talk to, here's what's going to happen, Aaron, the more confused you'll get. because there's so many different opinions and ways of doing business, and you got a lot of people who start peddling products immediately, which is always funny. It's like, wait a minute, you're going to take your life savings and in 30 minutes make a decision, especially without a game plan? I don't know, folks. That seems pretty foolish to me. So first and foremost, always remember, make sure, number one, you're working with a fiduciary. Number two, make sure they are providing you a written game plan before ever investing money. Those are the two rules of thumb. But let's go back to what they were saying. They said, Tony, we like working with you, or like talking to you. We've seen you on TV. We listen to the radio show. Now, they didn't know this, Aaron. I'd already met with them once, so this was our second appointment. You kind of following what's going on? I'm getting ready to deliver this binder, this assessment. They've never seen anything like this. I know they haven't. Nobody ever comes in with anything like this when they want a second opinion. And she looked at me and she said, I got to ask you, why should we work with you over somebody else? And guess what I said? Let's go through this binder and find out. And after going through it, she said, this is incredible. And she went, wow. And I looked at her and I laughed. I said, you would get a kick out of this. I said, can we get maybe just a video of you going, wow? And what I was thinking, Aaron, we'd put this bubble up in the TV show, and every time something provocative was said, we'll just,
wow.
But folks, that's the difference. The only thing I can say is it's really all about experience. I mean, whoever you're working with, you want to make sure they have experience in the field of retirement planning, because when you get into retirement, as you get into halftime, and especially if you get towards the second half of life, generally that's between 70 and beyond, folks, things will continue to change. As my dad would say, nothing stays the same. In other words, all good things will come to an end at some point. And here are the 4 things we're going to talk about, all right? The 4 things that will come to an end. And if you don't have an experienced retirement planning firm, a local firm that's independent, that can meet with you, Lord willing, I'm still here. I've been doing this almost 40 years. I meet with everybody in person. I personally lay out the assessment and the game plan, and I am totally accessible to my clients and prospective clients. If you don't have something like that, my question is, why not? Why are you going into the most important phase of your life, the phase where there's no do-overs? You can't go back and do this stuff over again, folks, when you start approaching the second half of life. Why would you not want to work with a specialist? So what are those 4 things that will come to an end? Well, the first thing that's going to come to an end, in fact, at the end of 2025, we know this is going to end, is some of the lowest tax rates in our nation's history. Let me repeat that. In 2025, some of the lowest federal tax rates in our nation's history will expire. That's a fact. Now, many of you, not all of you, but many of you are in what we would call a 12% tax bracket. If those laws do expire and they go back to the law of 2017, what the tax brackets were then, the taxes are going to jump up immediately. You can just bank on it. Okay, that's going to happen. But it could even be worse than the 2017 laws. After the laws expire in 2025, Aaron, could the politicians just whimsically decide to raise taxes even higher? Would anything keep them from that if they wanted to?
No, if they needed the money and they wanted to, yeah, they could absolutely do that.
Okay, so Aaron, there's $33 trillion in debt in this country and climbing. Could it be that the politicians might look at all these tax-infested 401k and IRAs and say, wait a minute, there's trillions of dollars there, let's just go grab that money?
I was just getting ready to say, yeah, they could easily look at that, untaxed money and say, yeah, there's trillions of dollars there.
So folks, you have to understand something. You've got 2024, this year. Again, we're recording this show in January of 2024. And then you've got 2025 to do something about it. So knowing these tax rates will probably go up, now is the time to get a plan. And we can help you with that at Tony Walker Financial. Okay, that's number 1. Tax rates eventually going up. The other good thing that's going to come to an end, number 2, are these high interest rates offered to savers. Now, I know this is not a good time to maybe borrow money if you're a borrower, but if you're a saver, this is a wonderful time because, Aaron, it's been over 20 years since I've seen interest rates this high. Have you noticed bank CDs, and we've got the MIGAs, the multi-year guaranteed annuities? Folks, these interest rates will not stay up. They're already starting to go down. So here's my point. If you could lock in, and again, these rates change. By the time, when is this show going to be on, by the way, Aaron?
This show's going to be on, should be February 22nd, so the last weekend or so of February.
Yeah, man, these rates are dropping quick. In fact, as we recorded the show in January, just 2 months ago, we could get a 5-year fixed interest annuity for well over 6%. It's hard to find them for 5 now, and they're still dropping. So, but that doesn't mean you can't still lock in some really good rates. So if you're a saver, you want to take advantage of some long-term high interest rates for your future, act now. We can help you with that at Tony Walker Financial. Number 3, all good things that must come to an end is the stock market. I think it was Charles Handy was his name, author. He wrote a book, but in that book, he made this comment. He said, in many cases in life, what got you there will not keep you there. And what Mr. Handy, I think, was saying is, okay, so maybe you're 62, 63, and you've been riding the stock market. You've been plowing money into that 401k, and that thing's been growing by leaps and bounds, and you're a big believer in the stock market. You got to understand something, folks. That stock market will eventually go back down. Now, will it go back up? It always does, but it will also go back down. But you can't afford to get into retirement and start drawing all this money out and risk that stock market going down while you're drawing money out. That is a recipe for disaster. So many people don't understand the economics of what we call spin down strategies. So again, the purpose of the 401k, let's go back to that, was hopefully you save that money for retirement. But then all of a sudden, you want to take it out, right? You want to spend it. Wouldn't you think, Aaron? That's the whole goal. But when you start spending money in retirement, especially as you move into the second half of life and you got all these RMDs and all this crazy stuff you've got to monitor, if that market goes down and you're drawing out money, your worry-free retirement is over. So we can help you safeguard more of your money. Sure, if you want to put a little bit of money in the market, we can still do that as fiduciaries. We have over 2,000 accounts with Charles Schwab. We've got over $240 million with Schwab. We're not opposed to putting some money in the stock market, but folks, you can't have all of your money in the stock market if you're a saver in retirement. So that's got to come to an end. And number 4, the biggest come to an end, and I'm probably going to save the last segment to talk about this because this will happen to everyone. You may not be affected by taxes. You may not necessarily be affected by interest rates, may not care. May not be affected by the stock market. Folks, this last one is a biggie, and here it is. All good things must come to end. Number 4 is you will, me, you, Aaron, all of us one day will die. And the problem is many of you are not prepared for this inevitable event. And when I come back, I'm going to tell you what a disaster this is going to be if you don't put some plans in place. I'm Tony Walker. You're listening to the Worry Free Retirement. Stay tuned. Really good segment coming up. You're not going to want to miss this. We'll be right back.
Did you realize that if you have more than $250,000 in retirement assets, the government could tax as much as 40% of it when you go to take it out? And with current tax rates set to expire in 2025, the taxes you will owe on your 401k could climb even higher. Don't wait until 2025 to see how much Uncle Sam will take of your money. Get a game plan by logging on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. That's TonyWalkerFinancial.com.
Welcome back to the Worry Free Retirement. We've talked a lot about our YouTube channel with all of our past episodes. Just go to youtube.com, type in Tony Walker Financial, but also a lot of people love our email blasts. We send out one a week with a new video. If you'd like to get on our email blast list, we will not bug you to death. These are really good email blast video content of things I've covered. We pick one a week that we think are some of our best shots at helping people. If you want to get on our email blast, just go to Trey@TonyWalkerFinancial.com. That's Trey @TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Just email Trey and tell him to include you on our email blast. Obviously, we just need your email. All right, so if you're just now joining us, we're talking about this phenomenon of all good things must come to an end. One of the most famous soap operas ever. Let's roll the introduction there, Derek, real quick.
For the next 30 minutes, as the world turns.
That's right, folks, as the world turns. What is it, Aaron?
Actually, Tony, I got a question for you. So back to our quiz. I was quizzing you on some of the number of episodes of certain shows. I actually looked up how many episodes As the World Turn has. Want to take a guess?
Oh, gosh. Well,
I'll tell you this. It's more than 500. I'll tell you that right now.
All right, go ahead.
13,000 858.
Wow. So it's probably we're probably not going to break that record, right?
I don't know. I don't see us being 90 and 110 in here doing that.
Oh, that's wild. Okay, so folks, in the essence of time here, what we're talking about is death, the inevitable happening. People are not prepared for that. So I've got to ask you this, Aaron. There's a unique thing, a phenomenon that's going to happen. It's already happening. With the baby boomers all retiring and having quite a bit of money, most of us, okay? When we die, what's going to happen that's never happened before in the history of this country?
It's going to be a lot of money left over.
Ooh, bingo. Trillions and trillions of dollars is expected to pass hands. See, the generation ahead of me, my parents, grandparents, really didn't have a lot of money.
A lot of Depression era folks.
Yeah. They might have a few CDs, might leave a house. Most of them had pensions and Social Security. That died when they died. But now everybody's got all these tax-infested 401ks or inheritance from or sale of businesses. They got all this money, and what they're not thinking about is especially this thing called the tax tumor. That's the amount of taxes buried inside a lot of these accounts, folks, that you all are not planning for. And what's going to happen is when you die, not if you die, when you die, that tax tumor will not go away. It's going to get passed off to your adult kids. And I know this because I'm starting to meet a lot of these adult children. Folks, we have over 3,000 clients at Tony Walker Financial. More than half of them are over the age of 65. We average 55 death claims per year. You know, it happens, folks. And I am meeting with more and more adult children. And Aaron, you talking about the old deer in the headlights. Usually when these adult children come in, that's what they look like. Not only are they having to grieve the loss of their parents, I'm usually meeting with them 4 to 5 weeks past their death, right? They bring in the death certificates. We're helping them with the claim forms. But in most cases, they'll look at me and they'll go, what am I supposed to do with this money? They don't know. And add to the fact that many of them, when you inherit these 401ks or IRAs, the new laws are they have to take that money out and pay the taxes on that money within 10 years. Well, think about that. I had a client in the other day. We were talking about this. He said, Tony, I've got a daughter and son-in-law. They make more than $400,000 a year. They have really good jobs. One of them's a physician. I said, well, that's great. You leave them this $500,000. Do you know how much of taxes they're going to have to pay? I mean, the government will take 40% of it. So, folks, it doesn't have to be that way, but you have to have a plan. Oh, incidentally, I wanted to cover this real quick. I mean, I know we're almost out of time. Look at this. This article just came out, and I think this is Investment News. Listen to this headline, folks. Young Americans expect, on average, this is on average, $320,000 of inheritances coming in. But here's the thing. They're not sure how to use it. So when I wrote the book, Live Well, Die Broke, folks, the reason I wrote that book, that best-selling book, Live Well, Die Broke, is because of all the experience I've had in working with so many savers and dealing with death and seeing this play out. I know these articles can talk about this, folks. I've been dealing with this for 20 years. I know this world well. I understand what's going to happen, and I understand the importance of putting a plan in place now. And there's only really 2 things you can do with that. Here's your options, folks, before we close out. Number 1, dealing with this tax tumor, you can just act like it doesn't exist, and then you can pass away and die and leave the tumor to somebody else to deal with. Leave a mess to somebody. That's an option. You don't have to plan for that. But here's what I would rather say you might consider. Live for today, plan for today, but plan as if today could be your last. Put some urgency along with this concept of dying. Get a prepaid, pre-planned funeral. Make sure your beneficiaries are up to date. And then get with someone like us that's trained in the art of retirement planning that can get a game plan in place to help you think through, should you be gifting money to kids now on a tax-free basis? Should you try to leave them tax-free assets? What should you actually do with this money? Well, it's easy when you're talking to Tony Walker Financial, and here's how you can talk to the owner of the company over the phone without any obligation. We call it the free 10-minute fiduciary phone call. And here's how easy it is to take advantage of a call with me. You just go to TonyWalkerFinancial.com, click on that Let's Get Started button. We're going to arrange that phone call. We're going to talk for just a few minutes. And if it warrants, if I think I can help you, we are going to meet in person at either our Bowling Green, Louisville, or Lexington, Kentucky offices. So do it now, TonyWalkerFinancial.com, or give us a call anytime at 877-499-9255. That's 877-499-WALK. Well, we've certainly enjoyed being with you today, but you remember, between now and next week, if all else fails, you be worry-free and make it a good one.